So as I said in the subject line of this class, in announcing this class, change you can believe in, right? Remember that? So I was a little bit surprised that more people didn't pick up on the nuance, and maybe it's better that way because now in the current climate, maybe it's better not to make what some people can assume to be political statements. But obviously, my point was not a political one. The reason why I use that line is that change you can believe in is that the month of Elul gives us the ability to believe in change and to believe that it's possible, it's doable, it's within reach. It's something. It's a change we can believe in. It's not a vague statement. It's not a political statement. It's real. So who are we believing in when it comes to this change? We believe in our ability to change. We believe in the fact that God believes in our ability to change as well, which is very important. So Elul is a month which is very ripe with redemptive potential, with the ability to change, the ability to be more introspective, but also to grow. When we speak about change, people assume, and this we're going to get to this point a little bit later, when people, especially observant people, hear the word change or they hear the word tshuva, they immediately associate it with that wherever I am right now is not a good place. I am not in a good place, possibly also because I'm not a good person. So therefore, I need to get away from wherever I am now and to change. But tshuva is less necessarily about change, it's more about the idea of reconnecting and rediscovering ourselves. So Elul is very much about that. It's about rediscovering and reawakening our connection to Hashem through understanding, through reconnecting to ourselves, which is, again, it's a very difficult thing to do. In today's hyper-computer climate, one of the things people have the hardest time to do is to disconnect from outside distractions like computers and phones. And one of the reasons, I think, is because it's a lot easier to be distracted and to be disengaged than to be engaged with yourself. That's why for many people, Shabbos is so difficult. Because what are you doing when you're not being disconnected or being distracted? You have your work, you have, for some people it's politics, for some people it's sport, for some people it's culture, for some people it's family. And I don't mean that family is a distraction, but they focus themselves away from themselves as far as they can get to. And that's how they stay sane, by being constantly distracted by something else outside of themselves. Faced with the possibility of spending time with themselves, they get really bored, or God forbid, worse, especially as we know, during COVID, there was many instances, God forbid, of people, again, not to say that, mental health is not an issue, but the ability of being comfortable with reconnecting with yourself, being comfortable with yourself, and therefore being comfortable with connecting with yourself, and therefore being comfortable connecting yourself to God. This is all part of the same continuum. Tshuva without a sense of reconnecting is not a tshuva. It's something, it's good, it's not this. This is that type of tshuva you can do like in Tavis. You can do it in like Shvat. You can do it whatever. Elul is not a time when we put aside 40 days, 30 days in Elul, 10 days in Tishrei, to think about how much we've been disconnected. Therefore, we're going to focus more of our attention, and that part of ourselves has been disconnected, as opposed to going to the core of the problem, which is our inherent inability to be connected to ourselves, to God, to the people around us. So Elul is the energy of Elul is about reconnecting and re-engaging with ourselves, re-engaging with God, re-engaging with other people. So therefore, we're going to begin. I said that is the very long explanation for a very short subject line, which is change you can believe in. So what is Elul? The word Elul is in one of the names that the Jews brought back with them from Babylon. It's a Babylonian, it's an Aramaic word, but nonetheless, because as our Kabbalists teach us, and something the Rebbe was very adamant about, there's nothing that's chance as it relates to a Jew's life, especially something that is connected to a Jew's life cycle. So therefore, just yes, the names of the months are Babylonian, but we as Jews always look a little deeper. We try to kind of tease it apart and see, fine, but how much more? What else is there that we can learn, that we can sort of unlock the true meaning or the deeper meaning? Because obviously there's also much more that we can understand. So Elul, the mazel of Elul is the Betula, is the Virgin, which is very apropos, very appropriate, because that month of Elul, 40 days before the holiday of Yom Kippur, Yom Kippur being synonymous with the marriage of God and the Jewish people, the bonding, the connecting, the oneness, the achdut of God and the Jewish people. Elul, therefore, we are like the bride preparing ourselves for that ceremony, for that marriage. So the Avad Raham, he was the 14th century commentator that wrote a phenomenal explanation on the Siddur, on the prayer book, explaining the root source of many of the prayers, and also the reasons why there's an order between one prayer and another. In addition to that, he also explained many beautiful ideas about the Jewish calendar. One of the things that he mentions is that the month of Elul stands, the Rosh Tevot, the acronym is for the pasuk, the verse from the Song of Songs, Ani Ladodi Ladodili. I am for my beloved, and my beloved is for me. And that is the one most familiar to everybody, because what does that really speak to? It speaks to Ani, I am, Ladodi, for my beloved. What does that mean? What I am is for the purpose of being connected to my beloved. My whole essence, my whole purpose for being is to be for my beloved. It's not that I am, and there's my beloved, and we get along. We like each other's company. We don't argue. We like each other. We make each other. We feel comfortable in each other's presence. That's a friendship. It's not a marriage. Obviously, you need that in marriage as well. But for that, you don't get married. For that, you can have a friend, somebody to hang out with, somebody laughs at your jokes. Maybe drink a beer or a ginger ale, whatever your preferred pleasure is. But Ani Ladodi means that I am for my beloved. Therefore, my beloved is therefore for me. There's I am batul, I am nullified to my beloved. My whole purpose, my whole desire is that my beloved should be happy. If my beloved is happy, then I'm happy. I don't need the happiness for myself. I don't need whatever I need for my beloved. Therefore, in reverse, my beloved is for me. So that really summarizes the message of Elul, which is this month we awaken ourselves to the fact that who are we for? We're for our beloved. God, what do you want us to do? We're there for you. You don't have to wait for us to come to us. We're coming to you. We're here. We know time is coming. We don't need to be reminded. We are ready, willing, and able to be close to you, to be connected to you, and so on. So that is the first acronym of the month of Elul. There's another few. The next one is Ish L'Re'eh Matanos again, which is from the end of the book of Esther, which means a man to his friend and gift to the poor. Which, you know, if you remember going back to the original theme that I spoke about, the idea of Elul is really about the idea of reconnecting, the idea of bonding, which is what really tshuva means. We're going to get to that in a second. Therefore, tshuva is very much connected with the idea of tzedakah. We do not approach God and say, "Oh, God, we're here, we're good, and you know we're willing and able, we want to serve you." And He asks you, "Okay, so how about you? But where are you with your neighbor? Where are you with your fellow Jew down the street? Where are you with your spouse? Why are you with those people that you cross the street or whatever? How's that working out? Oh, look, God, don't make this person. This is me and you. Hey, put them aside. That's not how that works. Not an L. So one of the sort of it's encoded, as it were, into the energy of the month of El. It's at a time of connecting and bonding with the Jews around us. The easiest and most direct way is to increase in acts of charity. Obviously, it's also not just paying your way forward with money. It's also being more charitable with spirit, being more charitable with your thought, being more charitable with your words. And charitable is not the same as being polite. Polite is not charitable. Charitable meaning that I would, under different circumstances, assume or take to heart that what you're doing or what you're saying is not pleasant, it's not right, or at least that's not the way I perceive it. Being charitable means possibly, but I allow it, fine, okay. I get it, I'll let it go. On the contrary, as Alter Rebbe writes in Tanya, that if a person, what is one way of really demonstrating that a person is really has a love of his fellow Jew as part of his service of God, when the person that upsets him or annoys him most is the one that he's going to be nicest to. In other words, not that you are polite to that person, but no, you engage with him. Because this is really where the hard work begins. Third is a pasuk from Mishpatim. Actually, it's not Mishpatim. It's the parsha or Mikot Onel Yodav Samtilov, which is a pasuk which speaks about that if God forbid a Jew commits murder, right? Or actually, it's called what is the word for premeditated? It's not premeditated. It's not homicide. It's no, the word escapes me right now. No, unintentional murder, right? So during the times of Beit HaMikdash, there were cities. There were some on the border, of Eretz Yisrael, some in other places that a Jew would escape to. Again, if he did kill somebody unintentionally, he would live there until the Kohen God will die. So it's called Erdem Mikra. So we also therefore apply the Rosh Tevot, the first letters of this pasuk spell out the month of El. Why? Because in the month of El, we need to be able to, like I said, we need to be able to spend time with ourselves, not with anybody else. I'm not saying that you should be secluded, but this is the time for a little bit introspection, just like the Erdem Mikra. But what is it that is koilet? What is it that surrounds the Jew and gives him security and gives him protection from those that would like to kill him spiritually? Torah. As we're told, the words of the Torah are kolet. They surround, they protect a Jew from outside influences, not the least of which himself. Sometimes a person is his own worst enemy. And what do you run to? You run to the Torah. The Torah provides that necessary protection from a person's yetzer hara, a person's evil inclination, allowing him to be able to, and to avoid, being attacked by the forces of the Yetzer Hara. And interestingly enough, what the parallel between the manslaughter is the word in English. There we go. Rachmil. I was counting on you to help me. The word is manslaughter. Unmeditated, unmeditated. It's called manslaughter. Right? That is manslaughter, even though it sounds pretty horrible, but it means a person killed somebody without malice.
Mm-hmm.
What is an Avera? What is a sin? I said this explains that, that killing a man means we're referred to the Atma Ha'elyon, the supernal being.
Mm-hmm.
Also within ourselves is a piece of the supernal being. What is the vitality, the source of life of that man? What does that connects us to God? What does it makes us who we are as Jews? Connection to God. And that connection to God is realized through what? Through fulfilling God's will. So therefore comes along an individual. And here we're speaking about the individual himself, as it were, spiritually. And he commits manslaughter. He kills somebody. What does it mean he kills somebody? He causes that vitality to be disconnected in a certain way. Obviously, Jews always connected to God, but there's connection and there's connection. There's a very deep level of connection. There's more of a superficial level of connection. Whatever it is, it always exists. There's no point in time that a Jew becomes completely disconnected from God. That connection becomes less and less and less apparent, and it sort of it recedes deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper within the person, but it never leaves. So in order to shake that out, if a person committed a minor sin or whatever, no. So listen, to awaken that consciousness will require a level of tshuva. God forbid a person commits a more heinous, more difficult crime, the difficult sin, so that it requires more to bring that out. So therefore, because the month of Elul is a month of tshuva, and the month of tshuva is also a person re-establishing his connection with God. So therefore, what helps him achieve that? Involving himself deeper in the study of Torah, taking a deep dive, in the Torah. Number 4, as God said, your heart, when will you return to the land of Israel? When your heart and the heart of your children become circumcised, or you rather will return to me, which is the idea of tshuva. In other words, the idea of tshuva, as we're going to speak about shortly, it's really about re-establishing, reigniting that interconnection that the Jew already has with the Creator. It's been 11 months, and with COVID and whatever it is, there's always something going on. Sometimes we get distracted. We move along. Elul is that time when we focus on that. And the idea of the fifth one, which is, I guess, is really the most important one, or the really central one, is Hashem Yirmu Lever Ashir, which is the backward expression the Jews said, Ashir Hashem Ashir Lemer Hashem Ashir Lemer. In other words, when the Jews said by the sea, let us sing a song to God. So here this is backwards. But ultimately, what does that speak to? There will be a time, Ashir, one will yet sing to God, which is the idea of the Geula, the redemption, which is when the Jews give tzedakah, which were, Chazal say when that it's through the merit of charity that the world is redeemed, right? Through the study of the Torah and through proper tshuva. What is therefore the result? Geula. Geula is a combination of those things, but not only the general Geula when the coming of Mashiach, but also very specific. Like I said, there's a redemptive power that exists now that we can tap into, and just like there's a specific power and an energy within the month of Elul to come closer to God, and there's a specific power and energy to come closer to God through being charitable with deed, with thought, and with act, with thought, speech, and action, and to involving ourselves in the study of Torah, and to do a proper teshuvah. within the month of Elul is also the power of redemption, right? And let's remember that redemption is not, the redemption is not only in the term of physically being transplanted from one place to another. Because just because you lived in Germany or you lived in Russia, you lived in Rego Park, and you buy a ticket in El Al to support the Israeli economy, and you fly to Israel, you have not necessarily achieved any kind of a substantive change within yourself. Physically, you moved yourself from one place to another. Spiritually, you haven't moved. Whatever thoughts and whatever principles and whatever way of serving God you had when you lived in Germany, Russia, or Rego Park, and without changing anything, you moved to Israel. So what changed? Nothing changed. You just moved yourself physically, but once you just switched chairs, and the chairs happen to be in a different country. The redemption is not that. Redemption is really a freedom. What is freedom? Freedom is the true expression of a person's essence. And a person's true essence for a Jew is to be connected to God in a very deep and real and personal way. That is what true redemption for a Jew means. That's what we celebrate on Pesach. So redemption. So, we celebrate freedom from Egypt. I've never been to Egypt, so I mean, it sounds good. Then we throw in fine, but 70 years ago we were in the Holocaust. All right, granted. But you're all relying on some markers that are foreign to me in order for me to feel connected to something. But it's good, but it's really not what that's all about. Ultimately, the Torah seeks for us to find the interconnection that transcends time, space, or history in order for us to tap into this energy. And that is when we understand ourselves, we apply these lessons as they are in the Torah to our inner state of mind, inner state of being, and then we can truly understand what the Torah wants from us. So when we say redemption and freedom, when we speak about going out of Mitzrayim, we're speaking about how does that theory, how does that idea apply to me here and now, and how do I apply it to myself? So the rabbi is saying beautiful things. It's being a little bit vague, maybe a little bit general, and I don't hear anything that speaks to who I am right now in this being. So that is really the important part, where we take something and apply that to where we are right now. So Moses, beginning of the month of Elul, Moshe ascends on Har Sinai, on Sinai, and spends 40 days there, from the beginning of Shchedesh Elul, the third 40 days. Right? He was on the mountain a total of 120 days. The first time he went up after the Jews received the Torah, the 10 Commandments, and Moses came down on the 17th of Tammuz. He saw the Jews sinning, and he broke the tablets. He went up another 40 days asking God for forgiveness, and finally the last 40 days, beginning on the Shchedesh Elul, culminating on Yom Kippur, is when finally the forgiveness was granted. So every single day of these 40 days, starting not actually tonight, tomorrow night, because tonight is the 30th of Av, and the first day of Elul is going to be Friday, Thursday night, Friday. We join Moshe on Har Sinai. We're up there with him every single day, one of those days. Whatever he was experiencing, we experienced a little bit as well. Or rather, what he experienced, maybe some of that we're feeling within ourselves. We're feeling within ourselves as well. So the month of Elul, in Hebrew also, Adiv Elul also means to search. It's a month of cheshbon. It's a month of stock taking. Like I said, it's not a month of stock taking because we feel that we're deficient. When you take stock of everything. And taking stock of everything means counting each item one at a time. Because whatever you have is important. The good is important. And therefore, if the good is important, you also learn the not good. If you're taking an inventory and you're only counting one of the sort of the things in your store, it's never going to end well. So, look, I know this. I know the stuff that sells. I know I'm good. I need to know what doesn't sell. That's not inventory. And you're hacking yourself in China because you need to have a clear picture of everything. When you have a clear picture of everything, then you can understand. You take it all in. So stock taking is not saying, "Oh, I'm bad." That's not stock taking. What kind of stock taking is that? He did nothing. He didn't look at the larger picture and see everything that there is and accept it because God gave you the store, as it were. He gave you fully stocked. They expect you to keep it, keep the shelves full. But for that, you also have to accept that there's a lot there that's good, obviously, because otherwise, if you're only selling bad stuff, what kind of, that's you're not in business. You're a thrift store. You're not a thriving business, and you're meant to be a thriving business. So Elul is a time of cheshbon. Cheshbon meaning you accept that there's everything. There's both, obviously, and you are working it through. You try to focus on maybe strengthening that which is good, and also realizing that those things that so far haven't worked. Maybe it's time to discontinue that line, or at least maybe put it on the back shelf and put 70% off sticker on it, and buy 5 get 5 free or something, or buy 1 get 5 free. You move this stuff out. But now what do we do the rest of the year? The truth is, throughout the rest of the year, we also need to have that in the back of our mind, but not too close to the front. In other words, if a person is always taking clothing in the store for inventory, what are you going to sell? A person's knocking on your door. He wants to buy, a pack of batteries. So no, wait. Till I know how many computers I have, I'm not selling batteries. What? What does that have to do? You have computers and you have batteries. You got to sell batteries. So a Jew, if he's always going to be, as we say in Yiddish, he's always going to be checking his own tzitzis. He's always going to be making sure that he's doing everything right all the time. It's going to make it really hard to move ahead. So you move, you do. If you missed or something wasn't done the way it's supposed to, you're fine. You pick it up and you try to do much better. The month of Elul is that one time when you got to be a little bit more, the comprehensive in your stock taking. You got to be a little bit more careful in, and but obviously as I mentioned before, the month of Elul is about the fact that I'm for my beloved is for me. It's never half the expression. We love God and He loves us. It's part of the package. It's part of the package. It goes without saying that we're there for each other equally, through good and bad, through difficulties and through storms and through any kind of, real relationship is one where, you learn, but you learn through, you go through the good moments, and you learn also, unfortunately, sometimes life will have those moments that are less pleasant, but that's part of the process. So therefore, it's really important to believe, like I said before, the tshuva is that our ability to change, and change you can believe in, that we need to believe that we can change, and we also need to believe that God believes in us, that we can change. Right? There's we say every morning, in the morning when we wake up, the first thing that we say is Moda ani lefanecha melech chai v'kayom shechazart bi nishmasi b'chemla. Period. Rabbi Manasecha. Moda ani lefanecha. I acknowledge and I praise and I thank you. Melech chai v'kayom, the everlasting King. Shechazart bi nishmasi, that you return to me my soul. My soul meaning you return me to me. Right? You can say, wait a minute, God. Tomorrow, let's do this. See, like if Einstein's soul is available tomorrow, can we do that? For a day. Can I upgrade? Can I go from economy to business class? or first class. Give me somebody else. Why? You return to me my soul, because it's my soul. It's mine. It's who I am. Sheikh Hazat said, Bechemla, with kindness and mercy. No, you return to me with mercy. What does that mean? You return to me with mercy, meaning there's love and there's compassion. You know who I am. You know what I'm capable of. You know what I'm not capable of. Therefore, when you gave it back to me, you gave it back to me Bechemla with mercy. Rabba Munasecha, great. And Munasecha is a very interesting word. The Munah means faith. And Munasecha means your faith. What does that mean? Great is your faith because you, God, believe. What do you God? God is God. What does he have to believe? He's God. We believe in him. What does he believe? Right? There's a saying in some of the stores in the Lower East Side, they would say, they would have a sign, in God we trust, everybody else pays cash. Right? We trust God. Everybody else, not so much. So what does Amanasecha mean? Amanasecha means great is your faith in us. That you trust us enough, you gave us back our soul. Wow! God, I mean, all right, I'll go with your opinion. You know what you're doing, but you have enough faith in me. Last night I gave you back my soul, and you picked it up and said, "What is this? I gave you soul. What are all of these coffee stains on the soul? Last night I gave you a brand new soul. It was nice and clean, and you come back, there's ketchup stains, there's tuna fish stains. What's going on? You can't eat like a mensch. Sit down by the table and eat." So we'll go to sleep at night. We'll give God back the soul, and he picks it up and says, "What is this? What's up?" What does he do the next morning? He says, "No, forget it. Tomorrow you're wearing a t-shirt. Enough of this. No, here's another soul. Clean. Got rid of the ketchup stains, got rid of the tuna stains, got rid of the coffee stains. It's all gone. All of the stuff that we did to the soul, he gives back. And he does it every single day for 120 plus years to Mashiach. Wow. You can say, fine, take off the first 13 years, maybe. Okay, shame. Doesn't matter. Still a long time. 107 years. Every single day. Because God says, it's fine. I know. Fine. Don't worry about it. I get it. I know it. I know everything. Take the soul. Use it. Listen. Maybe get careful, all right? Take it easy on the coffee. Maybe use a napkin when you're eating French fries so you don't get the ketchup on the soul. But so Rabbi Manasecha means, great is your faith, God, in us. You trust us. Thank you. And that is what we start every single morning with. How much better does it get after that? That's the top. Obviously, from there, we say, oh, good. Now we can daven. Now we can thank God for all the other things. But that is the starting point of every single Jew. And that is therefore also built into the month of Elul. That is built into the month of Elul where we acknowledge that. So I'm going to get soon to running out of time. A few of the important customs of the month of Elul that begin starting tomorrow morning, going all the way through till some of them well into the month of Tishrei, some of them just for the month of Elul. So the first one is tomorrow morning. Tonight is Rosh Chodesh, which is a holiday. It's called Yom Kippur Katan in many places. Some people even fast on the eve of Yom Kippur. So tomorrow we say Ya'aleh v'Yavo, which is a special edition in the Amidah. We also say Hallel, praise God, a song of praise. We add the 27th, we say twice a day from tomorrow until Hoshana Rabbah, the 27th Psalm, which begins with the word David, a psalm by David, Hashem Eiri Ishi. God is my light and my salvation. So there are many reasons as to why we read those. We read the specific Psalm 27, but the most simple and the straightforward one is that the word light that David is referring to is not just his light, it's our light. What is that light? What is that light? That light is Rosh Hashanah. Because by the light of Rosh Hashanah, we can make everything clear and lead up to Rosh Hashanah. We shine a candle just like before Pesach. We'll take a bit of a closer look inside ourselves to see what it is that needs to be done, as I mentioned before. Ishi, what's my salvation? Yom Kippur. Because ultimately, salvation for the forgiveness comes from God. Starting Friday morning up until the day before Rosh Hashanah, after davening in shul in the morning, the Chazan sounds the shofar. Because, as the Rambam says, as using this example, if the shofar is sounded, will the people not tremble? The sound of the shofar is meant to evoke and is meant to awaken and arouse the people to do tshuva. And because all of the things that I mentioned before, connected with the month of tshuva, month of Elul, are in that sound. They're in the sound. There's the sound of Mashiach. There's the sound of the giving of the Torah. There's the sound of Abraham was willing to sacrifice his son. So you have all of it there. The sound of tshuva, the sound of Mashiach, the sound of the Torah, are all, if you know how to listen, or at least just pick up, or somewhere something inside of you is going to respond to the sound of the shofar. The Baal Shem Tov also added, because we increase in words of Torah, words of prayer during the month of Elul, we add 3 chapters of Tehillim following our davening. Right? So there's a custom of completing the entire book of Tehillim during the duration of the month. Right? Every day we read the allotted portion for that day. So let's say the beginning of the month, it will be chapter 1 through 9, then 2 will be 10 through 18, or so on and so forth. In addition to that, to also read consecutively 3 chapters of Tehillim. The first day of the month of Elul, 1 through 3. The second day would be 4 through 6, so on and so on and so on and so on, up until and including Yom Kippur. So the Kahas Tehillim in the back has a schedule in case you get lost and you don't want to start doing the calculations. So it's pretty easy, but nonetheless, it doesn't matter. No judgment. You open it up, you look up the right month, and that's when you say the appropriate Tehillim. So, and in addition to that, obviously, as I mentioned before, increasing in charity every single day, a little bit more. And the goal is really, as I mentioned before, that a lot of times, there's so many things that come at us from different directions. A lot of them, and all of them, actually come from within inside. We all, everybody, to some extent or another, has a lot of company in their head. It's always voices of some kind or another, You want to do this, and there'll be the voices, and don't do that. Why? Or it might be bad association, or it might be self-criticism, or it might be many, many different things. And that's really gets, so a person gets on the right track, and then all kinds of reasons as to why somehow this good idea doesn't seem so good anymore. This desire to do a mitzvah gets complicated. All of a sudden, all of these seemingly legitimate reasons. So how does a person stay focused? So I want to bring a story, an example of Reb Mendel Futefas, legendary chassid, was imprisoned for many, many, many years for the crime of teaching Jewish children Torah, and primarily for helping his brothers in the Chabad community escape the paradise of Soviet Union in 1946. And he spent many, many years in Siberia. And when he came out, he would kind of recall the different experiences that he had and things that he learned. He was a chassid. He was always looking and absorbing and learning from the environment around him, because the environment around the Jew is there to teach him something. There's always, as we call it, a learning moment. He saw this as opposed to that. What does this mean? how can I apply this to me now? One of the people he was in prison with was a circus performer back in the good old days, and he, for some crime, he probably said something to somebody, a joke, wasn't a joke, and somebody reported him, and now he was in Siberia. And I guess it was a performance in camp, and they asked him to show his tricks, and he was a tightrope walker. They put up a tent, they put up two poles, and they put a string on top, and he walked across back and forth. And probably unlike in a real circus where you have nets and you have harnesses and so on and so on, in Russian prisons, they didn't bother with that. You put up the poles and you walked and you made it across good. If you didn't, one less mouth to feed. And he would do it. He would walk across, and he would turn around, and he would walk back. So later, Mendelssohn, he spoke to him, said, how do you do that? So he told him, says, when you get on the tightrope, you have your eyes focused on one thing only, the point at the end of the rope. You get halfway, and you look down, it's over. If you're on that rope, there's only one point that matters. It's the point all the way at the end. Thoughts about, wait a minute, I gained 10 pounds since last time I did this. I shouldn't be doing this. Oh, I think I feel something in my foot. No. See, before you get on the rope, maybe. Once you get on the rope, it doesn't matter. You get on it, and you get to that you get to that point, and then you need to turn around and you do the same thing on the way back, which is even harder. Because a lot of times people are managed to do something, they focus and they do it right. And they do it right one time. To do it right again and again, now that takes a whole different level of concentration and strength. But that really, when we speak about the idea of tshuva and all of these things, it's important to, you set a point somewhere a little bit ahead of you, and then you just you move towards that point, and you tune out every other voice in your head, because at that point, they're not working for you, they're working against you. None of those voices have your interest in mind. None of those voices are going to help you get to that end, to that point any faster. They're there to distract you, and they're there to kill you. Because if they really mattered, you would have thought about it before you volunteered to get on that rope. You understand? And this is just as a side point. One of the Hasidic, it's a famous Hasidic expression. I think one of the Hasidim of the Marash, he says that people, if the thought, the distracting thought you had in your mind during prayers was valid, then you would have that same thought when you did business. But generally speaking, when a person has to do business, he's not distracted. Oh my goodness, I missed somebody's birthday. I'm going to stop everything I'm doing, and I'm going to go and I'm going to call that person. No, I'm making money now. I don't answer phone calls. I don't send birthday cards. Right now, I am making money, which is good. It's a good thing to do. Why not use the same strategy when it approaches to serving God? Why all of a sudden now, when you're communicating, when you're connecting with God, all of a sudden everything else matters? Who you are and who you're not, and who you were in 5th grade and who you were in 7th grade, and who you wanted to marry but you didn't marry. But why? Why is it relevant, if at all? But why is it relevant now? So that is, I think it's a fundamental and important idea to take to mind when we sort of enter the idea of Elul. So I want to leave you with this following thought. Well, I'm not leaving yet, so a few minutes. The Alter Rebbe brings a very beautiful example that really, if you want to have one example that really brings all of these ideas together into one example. And examples are always good. It's a king in the field. The example there being is that throughout the month of Elul, the 13 attributes of mercy. God's mercy is open. In other words, He is going to be waiting for us at the front door of the month of Elul with His arms open. He's ready for us before we are even ready for Him. He's like, guys, oh, good, you're back. Baruch Hashem, it was a long summer. I heard you were in quarantine. Come. It's all good. I say, oh, God, I'm sorry. That one time I was gonna do it. I didn't do it. He said, no, just come. We'll figure it out once you get it. So, in the language of Kabbalah, that is referred to the 13 attributes of mercy, which is even higher than the attribute of divine justice. 13 being connected with the idea of the word Echad, the oneness of God. Okay. So the Alter Rebbe uses examples. What does it mean that during this month the 13 attributes of mercy are revealed? Example: a king. Right? It's been a while since America had one. It's been a few hundred years, but other countries have them. And in the time of an absolute monarch, it was an absolute royal. In other words, everybody, all of the citizens invested all of their hopes and their dreams into the person of this monarch. So you have a king. Throughout the year, in order to get an audience with the king, it's a whole process. You have to submit an application. You have to say how long it is and how much time it's going to be, and assuming you make it in, there's a whole protocol. You have to come in here and you have to go in there and you have to curtsy. It's really, it's really very involved. But there's also every once in a while the king leaves the palace and says, I'll go to you. It's so hard to get to me. I understand. That's fine. Look, that's the way it is. Kings are busy people. But I want to make it easier for you to get to me. So I'm going to come to you. But I'm going to come to you as I am in my royal clothing. You want to see me the king, right? You don't want me to go out there with, sitting in the stands of the baseball stadium with the baseball hat, go Yankees, and a T-shirt. That's not a king. Come on. You expect the king to be fully enclosed as a king. That's what people pay money for. You go to England, take pictures of the Queen Elizabeth dressed as a royal, not like not in the T-shirt. I love England and whatever. I mean, come on. I want my money back. So he goes with all his full attire into the field. And it makes it easier for people to approach him. He gets rid of all of the guards. He gets rid of the sectors. Just leave him alone. These are my people. They're mine. So let him speak to me. And he's there for that reason. He made this effort for that reason to make himself more accessible to them. Therefore, when he sees them, he smiles. Why does he smile? Because you assume, fine, a king, you expect him to be in his royal clothing, expect him to be very serious. Off with your head. You didn't bow. It wasn't a full bow. It was a little bit of a bow. If it wasn't a full bow, you died. That's a king. Who wants a king like that? Right? No, he's like, come. I get it. You're in the field. You're working and you're sweaty. Maybe you got some dirt on your legs. Come, fine. And he smiles at them, and it makes people feel more comfortable. It makes people feel more welcome. And then they come to him and says, king, it's been hard. The taxes are too high. And the truth is, even the taxes are too high. We don't always pay them. Look. And he says, fine. Okay, I get it. Fine. Look, whatever it was, you owe me. Give me a tenth of what you owe for the taxes. Can we do it? Negotiate on the tenth? Tenth is reasonable. It's nice. Nobody gets to go to prison. And I can do a tenth. I can't do 100%. And that's what Elul is. Because without that, you don't have Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. If there's nothing that in that between where we feel wanted and loved, so how are you going to do Rosh Hashanah? How do we accept getting God as our king if we're so completely afraid of him and terrified by him, but we just don't? There's no connection. We don't feel close. And what kind of relationship is that? So for 30 days, every day he's in the field, we're in the field. We'll give a little more tzedakah, we'll do a little more prayer. And he's good, he's fine, he gets it. He gets it. He gets what we are, he knows exactly who we are, and the smile that he gives us is that it warms our heart. Somewhere inside of us, we feel that. It gives us the ability of approaching him more out of love, less out of fear, which is really Elul is about love. It's a love of two people or two entities rather. Really care for each other, accepting that we're different, accepting that nobody's perfect, except God is and we're not. Okay, but short of that, and that's what it is. So I mean, I was going to get into the idea of Torah, Tefillah, and Tzedakah maybe another time, but that is therefore change we can believe in is it's a change that we can believe in, but it's also a change that God believes in us that we have the ability to change. So l'chaim, everybody. There again, almost finished. I'd like to wish everybody here a kasiva v'chasima teva l'shon teva, sukkah to be inscribed and sealed for a good year, for a good year and a sweet year. And a sweetness is something that you cannot. Why do we call it a sweet year? It's called good because good is relative. Sweetness is not relative. With diabetic, sweet is sweet because that's something we need to be able to taste. If you just say, "Oh, it'll be good," what's going to be good? Am I going to know when it's going to be good? You'll know. I don't know. I don't know what good is. I know what sweet is. Good is good. A bit of pain is good for you. I don't like pain. I don't like. Who likes pain? But you have to accept pain because it's good for you. It might be good for me, but it's not necessarily something that is sweet for me. So that's why we say both. Because people say inscribed and sealed for a good year, but l'shon teva u'mashak. As we say, but teva nirva nigla in a way that we can feel it, we can know, we can appreciate it. You don't have to be a Kabbalist, a head of a yeshiva, or an astrophysicist to know that what you're experiencing is actually something really, really positive. Okay. Thank you so much.